Now to the Northern Territory, where all police patrols are in the process of being armed with tasers, an electronic device that's used to stun people believed to pose a threat to police or others into submission. But police have been forced to rewrite their guidelines for the use of the weapon after the death of an Aboriginal man in Alice Springs last year, who had been hit at least twice by a taser. A coronial inquiry has found that the use of a taser to subdue the man, who had severe cardiovascular problems, was inappropriate and premature. This report from Murray McLaughlin contains images some viewers might find distressing.
The wailing cries of a grieving mother reverberated across the Darwin suburb of Nightcliff in October 1999 after police shot her son dead.
Jesus Christ, help me.
Mentally troubled, armed with an axe, the young man was hit with 4 bullets after a standoff with police. The death of Eduardo Concepcion led the Northern Territory coroner to recommend that police use tasers in aggressive confrontations. The taser was finally deployed in the Territory in early 2008.
The taser fires and 2 metal darts attached to copper wire embed in a person's clothing or skin. An electric shock is delivered for 5 seconds, immobilising the person.
Right from the start, cautionary voices were raised about the use of the taser in the Northern Territory, given the numbers of Aboriginal people in poor health.
A big percentage of Aboriginal men do suffer from cardiovascular diseases, and we warned the police force and governments then that there needed to be caution when using tasers.
There have been quite a large number of fatalities associated with them in North America in particular. So we had concerns about that per se, but also, of course, the sad fact of life is that the third of the population is Indigenous, and sadly a lot of their health is inferior to mainstream Australians.
Those apprehensions were realised in April last year, when a 39-year-old Aboriginal man with no criminal record nor history of violence was behaving strangely at his mother's home in Chalmers Street, Alice Springs. But the man did have serious heart problems and a history of mental illness, and was highly agitated when police confronted him in the street.
He was actually just raving and behaving erratically, and the police saw fit to go to taser, virtually first cab off the rank. They were still unable to apprehend him, and he was tasered again while he was lying prone on the ground. Eventually, he was then capsicum sprayed twice by both the individual officers, and literally within seconds he experienced and manifested breathing difficulties, from which he never really recovered.
The police officers involved made a judgment based on their training, the situation they were in real time, and they determined that they would use their taser. It was appropriate.
But the Northern Territory coroner thinks otherwise. His inquiry found the use of the taser was inappropriate and premature.
He made that statement, but it was also tempered with the realisation that the members were confronted with a very dynamic and evolving incident.
Shooters, go ahead, stay down.
Taser is the trade name for a device which causes strong involuntary muscle contractions. And graphic examples of its use littered the internet. 6 months after the death in Alice Springs, the US-based Taser company issued new training guidelines to direct the front target area down from the chest. One reason given for the new lower front target area is to minimise controversy about whether tasers cause heart attacks.
Should sudden cardiac arrest occur in an arrest situation involving a taser ECD discharge to the chest area, plaintiff's attorneys will likely try to allege that the ECD played a role in the death.
The Northern Territory Police have now adopted the new target guideline. They say to minimise risk of harm to the person being fired at.
It's certainly away from vital organs such as eyes, etc.
And the heart.
And the heart, yes.
Northern Territory Police had to investigate the death in Alice Springs as a death in custody, thus triggering an inquest. There, police told the coroner they're now rewriting their training manual to limit the use of tasers to most serious situations, where all other less forceful methods have been discounted.
The taser will not be used to gain compliance. It will be used for situations such as risk of serious harm to the police, the person, or any other member of the public.
We're not saying that they can't be used, but they should be strictly governed, and that should have been done right at the beginning. And we've spent over a year not doing it, using it far too often, and then Chalmers Street happens. And that unfortunate family have been seriously shortchanged by our justice system.
I wish they would have just taken tasers away. It's, you know, if it happens to my uncle, it can happen to anyone.
The dead man's family had asked the coroner to ban tasers in the Northern Territory. But the coroner said despite any inherent risks, they were preferable to guns.
Well, I feel really, really sad because I believe that Taser killed my son because of them two policemen.
That report from Murray McLaughlin in the Northern Territory.